Wouldn't you say that there are rather too many zoos in Britain?
Yes, I would. I think in a way we need a national policy for rationalising the numbers of zoos in this country. At the same time, a lot of the newest zoos have had great success in breeding, and I'd hate to discourage them. There has very recently been there have been some new laws passed in this country about the standards in zoos, the standards of safety, the standards of information, the standards of facilities for members of the public, things such as lavatories, and also restaurants and cafeterias. And I think this will mean that the numbers of zoos in this country will be reduced.
12.
Whenever you visit other zoos, you will be making comparisons, I suppose.
Yes, I remember going to one zoo. We were walking around generally, and the lady said that she had a particular pet squirrel in this cage, and it didn't come out. Would I go into the nest box and chase it out so that other members of the public could see it? I must admit I don't like doing this in another zoo, but I went into the enclosure, went into the nest box, and there was an animal that had obviously been dead for a long time. And no one had actually investigated that. They weren't keeping the day-to-day watch on their animals, because some of the only way you can really know your animals is to know them as individuals. And that's what we hope most of our keepers do.
13.
What about elephants? Are they difficult animals to keep?
Just a short while ago, we built a new elephant house, a very large house. It makes elephants look small, which is not a good thing to do to an elephant. But it also was really arranged so that you kept elephants separate from each other. We also decided that we ought not to train our elephants. And that was perhaps a good idea if you were able to keep elephants as a group. But if they're on their own, the major social contact they're going to get is with their keepers. And if you don't have a trained elephant, then eventually you get to the stage where a keeper can't go in with it. And so we had some elephants that were a little neurotic.
14.
Are there animals that you think principally unfit to be kept in a zoo?
Well, I would wonder, again with elephants, that's a case in point. If you're going to keep elephants, I really would like to see them almost kept in an elephant park. They, of course, being large, are less likely to suffer from the climate than smaller animals. Other animals, well, of course, they're very rare unless you can almost be certain that you're going to breed them. And the only way you can reach that degree of certainty is by having had success with a close relative. I think that probably is the best guide to you being able to succeed with an endangered species. So wherever possible, if you're going to keep a rare monkey, keep one that isn't quite so rare first, succeed in breeding that one, and then move on to the rare one.
15.
What comes first with the keepers? The public or the animals?
The animals, I think. I must say the animals. But the keepers vary too. unfortunately, we've not found a way of rewarding the different interests in keepers, because we do need some that are interested in the public primarily, and we'll go and talk to the public and tell them about their animals, because then they're doing the important job of education, helping with conservation. We also need keepers that are so interested in their animals that they will carry out research in terms of observational research and record their findings in a way that scientists then can see the problems and take over.
16,
To become a keeper, do you need special qualifications or a special affinity with one particular sort of animal?
What we say is that if someone wants to be a keeper, he wants to be a keeper. We can't promise him usually a job on one section. And I think that's a good thing, because people then will at least get a grounding in a wide range of animals, and then they can specialise after that time. We also have a keeper's course, which they can take after they've been here for 1 year, and then again after they've been here for a few further years. This works together with their experience, so that even if they take the senior keeper's course early, the qualification will not be recognised until they've spent a certain number of years within the zoo.
17,
Einde van onderdeel A. Onderdeel B. U gaat luisteren naar een tweetal gesprekken over de risico's van de boksport. De gesprekken zijn onderverdeeld in fragmenten waarbij 2 keuzevragen worden gesteld. U moet aangeven welk van de 2 alternatieven het beste weergeeft wat u heeft gehoord. Er volgt nu eerst een voorbeeldfragment. U hoeft nog niets in te vullen op het antwoordblad.
From the BBC in London, this is Mary White. Angelo Jacopucci, Willie Klassen, Johnny Owen, Cleveland Denny. All these men and more have died in the past 4 years as a result of injuries sustained in the boxing ring. Since World War II, a staggering 336 boxers have died, and thousands of others have suffered serious injuries, including severe brain damage. At their recent annual conference, the BMA, the British Medical Association, voted overwhelmingly to campaign for a total ban on boxing at both amateur and professional level. But it could have a tough fight on its hands, because its supporters will fight long and hard to defend it. None harder than Henry Cooper, who's long held the title, amongst others, of Britain's best-loved boxer. He's here in the Orwell studio today with Dr. Vivian Nathanson of the BMA's Board of Science.
example,
Tot zover dit voorbeeld. De eigenlijke toets begint nu.
Dr. Nathanson, let's start with you. I read out all these horrifying statistics and figures at the beginning, but is there a lot of evidence that severe brain damage is incurred during boxing matches?
There's increasing evidence. The reason it's increasing was that until the last few years, you could only look at the brain after death. But today we've got an advance in this CAT scan, this new machine, which can produce pictures which are like a slice of the brain in life without doing any harm. And that shows us evidence that the damage is happening with increasing number of bouts, causing blows to the head.
1,
Henry Cooper, doesn't this all make sense? I mean, doesn't it suggest that boxing is a dangerous sport?
Oh, yes. I mean, let's be honest, no one's professing it's not. But because there's danger connected with a sport or anything, well, it doesn't mean you've got to ban it. I mean, there's more people get killed in cricket and get fatalities, and yet the BMA or the doctors will come back with this old thing about, well, boxing is a contact sport. It's where one man goes in to beat another man. I mean, if you mean to tell me that modern-day soccer, modern-day rugby isn't a contact sport, I'll go and eat my ass.
2,
Dr. Nathanson, why pick on boxing?
It's not really picking on boxing. The thing that worries us are the people who have chronic damage and who don't know until it's too late. The brain's different from any other part of the body because it can't heal. And cells that are damaged by a tiny little bit of bleeding inside the brain die. And if you have repeated blows and repeated tiny areas of damage, then eventually, if you carried on, everybody would get to the punch-drunk syndrome.
3,
I've been in boxing 27 years. I was boxing personally from when I was 10 years old until I was 37. How can you differentiate from a blow someone, and they tell me every time you bump your head on the door, a lamppost, you leave a scar on the brain, it bleeds. How can you differentiate those and ones that have been done through boxing?
4,
Well, the later studies are very carefully selecting people, boxers, who have no history of head injury. Now, a slight blow, I mean, walking into a door, knocking yourself, a slight blow, we're not talking about that. We're talking about head injury enough to actually stun you, even if it's for a fraction of a second.
Well, I mean, if you bump into a door, that stuns you for a fraction.
Okay, and that will cause damage. But the difference is that you don't encourage people to deliberately, repeatedly walk into a door.
5,